Thank you for taking some time to join me on this important topic of building a culture of safety in our parishes. This is not to say that our parishes aren't safe or that we haven't done a lot of work already, but there's always further steps that we can take and greater awareness that we can build. And that is the intention of this presentation, that indeed we take some time to reflect and say, what next? 10 years ago, in response to the clergy sexual abuse scandal, the Diocese of Corner Brook and Labrador launched its responsible ministry policy with the intention of building a culture of safety in our parishes and among all those who minister in the Church's name. The responsible ministry policy was also meant to provide each community the ways and means to minister with greater confidence and accountability. 10 years later, we've significantly reduced the risks through criminal record checks, covenants of care, safeguard committees, and mandated education in the policy by those who minister in certain areas of concern. But we may not have gone as far when it comes to engaging the entire community in building a culture of safety or in reducing the hesitancy that many people still feel in offering ministry to the young and the vulnerable. On occasions when the community comes together to celebrate, there are still many parishioners that do not feel a part of our policy of providing safety for all. And so it's in this spirit that I would like to ask the question, what are the next steps we need to take to build a culture of safety where everyone shares in the protection and safety of all? Safety is much more than a policy, no matter how well worded it is or how closely it is monitored. A safe environment involves everyone who shares in that environment, who looks out for one another. That's already happening to a large extent. And yet, a safe environment is the product of the community working together always, being conscious of those things that might seem unsafe, for the good of all, especially those who are most vulnerable. When it comes to those involved in making decisions, be it the parish pastoral council, ministry teams, building and finance committees, CWL, Knights of Columbus, St. Vincent de Paul, and many groups as such, the issue of safety and security must be part of our every discussion and decision. Rather than reducing our outreach and ministry into the community, as policy often does, our commitment to responsible ministry should improve the way we minister, working together to achieve the best results. Now, there are three basic principles that should be top of mind in any of our discussions. First of all, as much as possible, avoid working alone. Work as a team. All tasks are halved when shared. It's also a lot more fun to do things together. And it doesn't feel as if somehow you're bearing the full load on your shoulders, as if somehow everyone is depending on you. Offer to help someone when they are alone. Involve parents when you're dealing with kids, if at all possible. Team teach. It's a lot more fun. If you have to work alone, and at times it's unavoidable, adjust when and where you work. Usually it's best to work during regular business hours. Rooms should have big windows, if at all possible, so that you can be seen from outside. Windows and doors. Door open policy whenever possible. Times when there are people around. And make sure there's some way you can be seen. Even after hours, I have had meetings with people just simply sitting on a chair outside. That may not be possible in the middle of winter, and yet it's amazing how often it is possible. We're not there to avoid ministry, we're there to make it safe. Second principle, plan ahead. Often we are put into situations because indeed we save things till the last minute to find that last volunteer or to enact a particular ministry. Plan the ministry so that when you start, you have already put everything in place. And lastly, when there is any doubt, there are two things you need to do: either intervene or report. If you see anything that is doubtful, and it's not that we're there to, to spy or to put on a culture of constant eyes on, but intervene. And here I used the example of nurses. I've walked down hospital hallways often enough, and sometimes a little confused where a particular room is located, that nurses will approach me and say, "Can I help you?" It's a wonderful way to intervene. I mean, it's something that we could say when someone looks lost or confused, needs help, or acts suspiciously, and indeed allow the person then to respond. And when in doubt, report. When something doesn't look right, parishioners should know where they should report, who is responsible, who can they talk to, who can they approach, so that indeed they may feel comfortable with the idea that yes, there is someone accountable. Unusual behavior that may suggest grooming, like the giving of gifts or special attention to a young person or to someone who might be vulnerable, the soliciting of gifts by those who minister. These are all inappropriate actions, and indeed these are things that when in doubt, report. Inappropriate language, touching, conversations, threats, leering. If you see these things, the community should know where can they go in order to truly, make sure that it is dealt with. Abusive behavior, including corporal punishment. These too are reportable behaviors. And, in those places, especially where washrooms have multiple stalls, there too, there may be things that need to be looked at in regards to safety. How can we make it safer? Or indeed, we need to make sure that indeed these are safe places for everyone that counts. When it comes to anything to do with sexual abuse, the first principle is report it to civil authorities. You have a duty, that is by law, to report in cases of abuse of children, youth, and vulnerable adults. In a sense, there is no option. You're liable if you do not report. Second of all, report to the church any and all infractions, meaning that if you see something that needs dealing with, that needs to be known, make sure that it is known who to report to, what are the systems in place, and for both, concerns or for major things, allow someone else to indeed make that decision if you yourself are in doubt. And be sure to follow up that indeed steps have been taken. Lastly, study the policy. It's important that everyone is familiar, at least somewhat, with that which is in it. It's not terribly long. Talk about it. Offer feedback. It's good to have a healthy discussion. It can be improved, by the way, meaning that if you see ways that it can be improved, or the way things in your parish can be improved, talk about it. Make sure that indeed it is a natural part of the fabric of life, that it isn't just something that is, bureaucratic or, that is imposed, but it's something that indeed everyone feels comfortable. And maybe that's already happening in many parishes. Get involved, be more aware, know what is required. Keep the topic of safety front and center in your discussions. If we do it right and everyone is involved, everyone is protected. Not only the children and the vulnerable, but everybody in the community, including those who minister to them. Now, as part of this video, there are 5 questions for you to discuss, and that is to allow you the opportunity to dialogue among yourselves in regards to the culture of safety in your particular place. First, how can we promote a culture of safety in our parish? How can we make it more explicit so that people know that indeed we are working towards it as a natural part of the fabric of our community life? How can we involve everyone in the process? How can we make safety a part of our everyday pastoral planning? What areas of our building can be made safer? Windowless spaces, office spaces, washrooms. Are there any things that we need to do? And what are the obstacles that prevent us from building a culture of safety? There are certain attitudes sometimes, or people that somehow want to step back and say, well, that doesn't involve me. What are the attitudes that we need to overcome? Anyway, these questions will be sent to your pastor so that they may be used to accompany this video. I hope you have a wonderful discussion, and it is my wish that indeed we continue to build the very communities that reflect God's love and safety for all.